Hi, my name is Angelica Paquin, and I go by Angel. Um, for most of my life, my dad always called me Angel. Um, I wanted to share a bit of my story with the world. I've been led to do this by my guides, my angels that I've come in line with in the past couple of years. Um, I surrendered back in 2020. I've struggled with alcoholism throughout my life. I got my first DUI when I was 23 years old, and every 4 to 6 years after that, I maintained getting another DUI, and it caused me to spend some time in jail. Um, Most recently, I went in September of 2021 for 30 days. Thank Creator and the angels that I didn't hurt anybody while I was out there drinking and driving and harming myself. And thank Him for also sitting me down, allowing me to think those numerous times. I had 5 DUIs, and the last 4 I had to spend some time in jail every time. But it allowed me to get closer to God. The first couple of times I read the Bible because I wanted to know what God's will was. I didn't understand when people said that, like, you gotta live in God's will. You can't live in your will. I didn't even know what a will was. What is the will? Like, I was looking through the Bible, trying to figure out if there was an appendix or something where I could find, where's God's. But I read it cover to cover because, there is no appendix. But it got me familiar with the story, and I felt, a little more attuned to God and to the stories of, the Bible. And so I've never grew up religious. Went to Catholic church a few times growing up, and then one of my sober stints when I was court ordered to treatment, I stayed sober through going to church. So I got kind of involved with a church that was in my area, and that kind of helped me stay sober for a while. But alcohol was always back in my life again and again. I would think I'm cured, I'm certified to drink after I graduate treatment, and within, a short amount of time, I was right back to, I always drank to blackout. From the first time I drank to blackout. And I believe that that was part of my journey to get close to spirit. I say God and Him because that's what I've been conditioned to say, and it's comfortable for me because I haven't had any religious injuries, I guess, or nothing was forced upon me by my dad. My dad was a foster kid, so I didn't have a lot of family. My mom was there, but she wasn't my primary parent. My dad was. And he taught me a lot, and he was older when he had me, and he was also an alcoholic. He quit right before he had me in 1979, but he had a relapse when I was 3 or so, and he lost me and my mom and a lot of things, but he got me back, and he got a lot of things back. He did it through AA, and that's where I began my journey to finally, when I surrendered in 2020 and admitted I was an alcoholic, because all the other times I went to treatment, I thought it was just circumstance. I was like, oh, if I didn't drop that pack of cigarettes or blah, 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 it wasn't the alcohol. Just don't take the alcohol from me, please. That's all I got. That's how I felt at the time, I didn't have any other tools. I had nothing in my tool belts. I always felt that there was something else besides me, and I've seen inklings of it throughout my life. And believe me, I didn't keep myself alive this whole time. something knew I had a divine purpose, and it was my guides and my angels, and they kept me alive. Um, they told me that when I finally was first able to talk to them about, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, I was able to figure out a way to communicate with them, and I didn't want it to work. I was watching a video about a pendulum, and I was ordered one from Amazon, and tried it, and I really did not want it to work. I was like, this is BS. I do not want this to work. But lo and behold, it worked, and it freaked me out, because it was like I was asked. It said to ask real questions, like, my name is Angelica Paquin, or you could say my name is Mary, and see if it says yes or no. And you ask it. Always, anything you do, you go in with an intention, and I always intend to only speak to the highest good. I ask for protection, so that no lower vibrational energies can speak to me, because a pendulum can be easily manipulated, and there's yin and yang here. There's good and there's dark and light, and that's the type of planet that we live on. Just like there's free will, just like we're not made perfect, and God knows that. And so there is no sin. God doesn't hate me because I've made mistakes. He wanted me to make mistakes, a lot of mistakes, and I did, and He still loves me. God doesn't, in my opinion, God does not have those judging, damning, human emotions, the lower vibrational emotions like anger and spite and jealousy. God is pure love, and I've felt it. I felt it from the angels. I've had an angel touch my hand before, and I cried for like an hour afterwards, because it was just so beautiful. I've recently got into taking a tarot card reading class, and I've picked up a few decks, and so now I'm using a new tool to speak to spirit. I've also done some Reiki, and during those sessions I had some light language come through me. Also, I've opened my Akashic records once, and I had verbal channeling from them, and they referred to themselves as we. Only opened them once, so they're the masters, teachers, and loved ones that carry those records. And Metatron, this is the Merkaba, which is Metatron's cube. He's the king of the archangels. He's the archangel that touched my hands, and I asked if he was one of my teachers, and he said yes. And so I started getting more into archangels, and I was led down the angel path. I started out listening to a lady called Deloris Cannon. One day I was detoxing, I think, from another binge a couple years ago, and I was like, I'm sitting here looking at, whatever. I was like, I should look up, like, what happens when I die? Like, I still was questioning, like, where do I go? What happens? Is there God? Like, are there angels? What about the dinosaurs? Is there aliens? Like, I had to know everything, because I felt like everything existed in one state or another, in another dimension. Like, and I was thought about dimensions, and I've done a lot of reading. I've read probably a couple hundred books over the last year and a half to 2 years. I have quite a few sitting in my library on Audible right now. That's the easiest way for me to do it, because I can listen to them while I'm driving, because I do have 2 kids with special conditions. If you see these, this is from my autistic daughter. She loves to line things up and things like that, and right now she's sleeping. And I also have a daughter who is diagnosed as bipolar, but I believe she actually just has some special gifts that we no longer refer to as gifts. People with these gifts are said to have mental illness, and so I'm trying to find another mentor for me and for her to help us continue to grow and prosper, and maybe she can figure out, what the voices are that she hears and where they come from and who they are, and it'll help her be more at ease within herself. She's only 17. This started when she was very young, honestly. When she was 4, she started doing a lot of different things than my other children, and I just didn't ever ask for help or nothing, because my dad being a foster kid, I was scared that CPS was going to take my kids, and I could handle everything, and I was in control of everything, and everything was on me, and no one else was there to help, and I just had all of these like control issues and thinking that I had to be in control of everything, and that's what caused me to drink. A lot of my last drunks were wanting a break. Like, no one expects anything of me if I'm drunk. So, and then I'm able to say no, and say the things that I couldn't say when I was sober, because I have a lot of boundary problems due to CPTSD, childhood, post-traumatic stress disorder. My dad did the best he could, but it comes from an era when, kids were abused and he was abused, and the form of his parenting style was fear, and it worked. I mean, I got great grades, and I didn't have any boyfriends, and I don't know if that was good, bad, or what, but I didn't do a whole lot with my education after I turned 18, and I got a full scholarship to UW, and I got pregnant in my freshman and sophomore year with my first 2 kids. I had 2 kids at 20 years old, with a man that was very similar to my dad, a very narcissistic, which is the new word today, of how to describe people that, just, I don't know. I have empathy for a lot of people, and I forgave them a lot. I was with the father of my kids for 14 years, and if I was healed and okay and thought that, knew that I deserved better, I would have left a lot way before that. I just didn't know that, I deserved anything better. I had a belief, and one of my core beliefs was I'm not good enough. No matter what I do, I'll never be good enough, because my dad was always like that. Even if I got straight A's, he was pissed off that I had an A-, or even if we won 10 games, like if we lost 2, like it was all my fault, and because I was the pitcher. And there's just a lot of stipulations and a lot of anger that he had, things to work through, that there wasn't as many tools when I was a kid, or even when he was younger. I mean, other than going to counseling and whatever else, like there just wasn't as many things that we have today that I am grateful for. I don't know if I would even be on this spiritual awakening if it wasn't for the internet and YouTube, and just my wanting to know things. Like, I've always had a passion for learning. When I'm learning, I'm happy. Even though I was like kind of forced to learn a lot when I was younger, but luckily it came to me naturally, and I was a good student, and I was able to, and even throughout my life, being an easy learner has helped me with different jobs. Just so most of my jobs I haven't enjoyed until this last one, really. They're just customer service, but I did get to meet a lot of people and get to know a lot of people's stories, and people were always so open to talk to me about their stuff, and I guess I just felt safe. Or through my research, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I'm an earth angel. and it's funny that my name is Angel, and my government name is Angelica. Um, but I'm here to help uplift the planet, to help uplift society, and to share my journey so that people can understand, like, I come from a lot of different walks of life, and I did not believe in any of this stuff. I thought it was the devil, like, especially like using a pendulum, and like, my daughter had crystals and stuff before I learned anything about them. And when she first got hospitalized for her mental health disorders, and she's very violent when she's in her mania, and her dad, like, there's mental health on both sides of the family, but I also, on top of, I believe she has some gifts too, like, because I can, I'm clairvoyant, clairaudient. I know things. I can feel things sometimes. It's not like someone else's voice though. It's not me. It's not my thoughts. It's not the way I would talk. Like, that's how I know it's not me. But yeah, it's my own voice though, pretty much. It's not someone else's voice coming in. It's like not like I can hear it, like someone's sitting here like talking in my ear or something. I've done a couple Reiki beginner classes where I was able to listen to my body to know if something's yes or no, like how your body can kind of pull forward for yes and pull back for no. Like, if you continue to ask something, you can ask, true things, so you know that they're absolutely not true. And then you can, once you learn your body and how it reacts to things, then, and I've had to get all of this in line. Like, I was completely disconnected from my body due to all the abuse that I've been through throughout my life, from being abused as a child, and then being in a very abusive relationship with the father of my children. And then I was in a mentally abusive relationship for the next, 12 years or so, off and on with the same person. And I in 2020, I kind of asked this, like, I want off this fucking, I don't know if I can cuss on here, but I want off of this hamster wheel. And I just realized, like, I'm going through this cycle over and over. It's like the cycle is continued, like the same guy, different skin, the same, like, I'm going in a DUI every 4 to 6 years. I get built up a little bit, and then boom, I'm back on the bottom. I'm back trying to get my license back. I don't have a car anymore. I don't have a license. I got to get a different job. I went to jail, so now, and I was just like, why do I get to, like, this spot where it feels like things are, like, finally coming together? Like, I'll just get my stuff all back in line, and then boom, I'm right back to the bottom again. And I was like, I don't want to be on this hamster wheel anymore. And I got on my knees and I prayed about that. I was like, let me off this effing hamster wheel. And it didn't happen overnight, and I didn't even think my prayers were working. I've seen them work though. When I was in jail, one of the times, my dad was very sick. At that time, he was just barely living, and I was his caretaker, and I had to do 30 days with him taking care of my oldest daughter, and he wasn't in good health. And I prayed every single day for them and for my other children that were with my mom, and they stayed safe. And there's a lot of horrible stories in jail with those women, if you really get to talking to some of them, on how they got there, and why they are drug addicts, and but everybody has a sad story. That's what I try to tell my daughters. So tell everybody, you can knock on anyone's door and ask them about their trauma or their tragedy, and they'll tell you, their story. There's no one that can get away from it. It's kind of part of being here on this planet Earth. Unfortunately, it's like it's how our soul learns. If we're all the same, and why would we want to come to the planet? Why wouldn't we just want to stay with God? there's reasons. Our soul is trying to continue to evolve, and so through evolution, that's why we came here, because it's a challenge, a very hard challenge with the free will, because none of the guides or anything or angels can go against your free will. You are free to do what you want. They can give you advice. You can say, is it in my best interest that blah blah blah, and they can say yes and no, but it doesn't mean if you go against them, it's not like they're gonna say, oh well, I can't help you anymore because you don't listen. And I've listened and I've not listened. I've done both, so I'm getting better at continuing to follow the guidance, though. That's why I'm doing this video today, and it's a little long, but they said just do it, and so I'm doing it. And this is, my first one, and I wanted to explain a little bit about myself and why I'm here. And I believe that I'm supposed to be some sort of a teacher, maybe a channel, maybe a lot of different things, maybe a tarot reader. I'm not 100% sure, but all of it fascinates me and all of it intrigues me. And I'm just so happy to be able to speak with my angels and my guides, and we all have them. Everyone comes with a guardian angel. I have two. Some people do have two. I found out one's name's Bastion and one's name's Charisma. And Bastion has been protecting me since I was a little kid, getting hurt. And Charisma has been trying to keep me on my purpose, on my path. And they both had a hard job. When I was little, I used to go outside and pray to trolls. I had a lot of trolls growing up, and they were all I could think of to come out there with me and help me pray that, my dad would have a good day and I would have a good day and everything would be okay that day. Or even like after he hurt me or something, I would go out there and ask them why, and please don't let him do it anymore. And he did his best. I don't want to put him down or nothing. Like, he had the human condition and he did not do me as horribly as he got done. And that's 100% fact. I know his story, and I know, he did the best he could do, and I don't blame him for anything. It's just the way it was. That was the tools he was given, and he did his best that he could, and we did a lot of cool things. He was very dedicated to my life. He gave me the last 30 years of his life. Every day we were together, all the time. He made sure his schedule was completely aligned with mine so that we didn't miss any time together. I was always with him. He was always with me. Even as I got older and had my own family, we were always scheduling things together, to go to the zoo, to go to the park, to birthdays were always together. He was big on holidays because he didn't get to celebrate a lot when he was growing up, and so he made sure that the holidays were always good for me and my children. Anyways, I wanted to share a couple poems that I wrote when I was in jail in 2021, and I didn't intend to write any poems. I intended to read the Quran, since I already read the Bible a couple times, and I had just contacted Deloris Cannon, though, and I just read 4 of her books right before I went in there. And while I was in there, since I couldn't get the Quran, I started looking through the library, and I was asking God, I was like, God, please show me the books that I need to read. And so when the book would pop out to me, like the title or whatever, what's crazy is the book Eat, Pray, Love is a really good book. I didn't really care for the movie, but the book actually inspired me to write one of these poems, and it kind of opened me up to like what a spiritual journey is, and like where it can take someone. And it was basically, that's what the book was about, was this lady coming to an awakening, realizing that she's living a life that she doesn't want to live, and she wants to know how she can change it. And God somewhat speaks to her, like, I don't know, through her mind or whatever, and she just takes the plunge and she just goes from there. And it's a pretty cool book. A piece of the book, she's in a deserted, a private island, because she's got a little bit of money because she's worked, I don't know, she had a pretty good job and good education. I couldn't do that, but I was like, well, I'm in this jail cell, and that's like as close as I'm gonna get to a private island at this time of my life. And I got a lot of free time, and I got a lot of time to myself. So I started calling forth, you know, my anger, sorrow, and shame, and asking it to, accepting it, feeling it, and allowing it to go rest in my heart. I needed to clear all that out of my mind. I needed to clear up some space so I can start making some space for the divine, for the downloads, for the spiritual awakenings, for the alignments. And I've gotten quite a few. I mean, my life has changed tremendously since I've started this journey. I was gonna die in 2020 because of alcohol. I was in and out of the hospital. I was DTing. I was unrecognizable. Many people have seen me throughout my life. I usually look like this. I'm usually pretty put together. I always wear makeup, always do my hair. I've always been, you know, heavy set, and I'm working on that part too. And it's a lot due to trauma. It's protection, you know, like I've been sexually assaulted, physically assaulted, and, you know, subconsciously in my mind, you know, people don't want people that are bigger, you know, and so I didn't have to worry about someone trying to sexually assault me, even though they still will. I shouldn't be laughing about that, but, you know, that's how I've been through so many things. I can't react to them the proper way. I'm still working on those things and feeling those feelings, and I actually still need to do a lot of my shadow work. That's one of the things that I was told to start working on this year, is doing some emotional release meditations, also maybe some exercises, because there's some things that you can do too to release those pinned up emotions. And I was told as I do those emotional release exercises and meditations that all of this will start just falling away on its own. I'll be able to have more confidence. The weight will continue to release as I am releasing those emotions, because a lot of this is just built up trauma and emotions that I've stuffed for years, many years. I wasn't allowed to cry. I wasn't allowed to be angry. I wasn't allowed to be anything but a good girl. And a lot of us women have that good girl syndrome. Like, you be a good girl, you take care of everyone else, you come last, you know. And these are conditions that many women have to abide by, you know, growing up. We're already taught at a young age, you're supposed to take care of the kids, you're supposed to take care of the house, you're supposed to blah, 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 you know. And I was always doing that, putting everybody before me, and I was falling apart. It was making me want to die, and that's what alcohol was doing for me. I couldn't pull the trigger and kill myself, you know, but if I drank enough alcohol, I was, you know, on my way. So, and I wasn't consciously thinking that, like, just like, yeah, let me just, like, it was just what I was doing. And that's, now that I'm looking back on it, that's the conclusion that I'm coming to, is, you know, I wanted out. I thought I had messed myself up. I messed my kids up. I effed it all up, and I needed to get out, and I needed to start over. And I'm so glad that I was not successful in my attempts at that. And I did have a few attempts, and I did have a couple tries, and I'm so happy that, you know, my angels and my guides kept me here and kept me thriving and kept me with my children. Because with us being in a foster family situation like that, even though I'm the next generation, you know, I don't have very many relationship skills. I didn't know what a good relationship is. I don't know what a family dynamic is supposed to be like. So with the tools I was given. I isolated myself a lot. That's another thing. That's another one of my goals for this year is relationships. Being able to let people in, and they also, the same treatment is going to be the emotional release as I align with myself and balance my feminine and masculine energy by doing these emotional release exercises, and getting into like yoga so I can connect my mind and my body, or Tai Chi, or whatever one resonates with me in my body, so that I can just get all of this, you know, into a flow. And it's getting there. Believe me, I was a mess, like just screaming and crying and all kinds of things. And after my dad died, I turned to straight alcohol. And when I wrote these poems, what I realized when I wrote the ones to my children is that, excuse me, I have no recollection of 2013 to like 2017 when we moved here to Tulalip. I lived in Tacoma most of my life, and I didn't have nothing to help to keep me there anymore with my dad being gone. And I was alone, and I couldn't quit crying after he passed away. I didn't know what to do without him. I didn't realize how much he did for me, even with him being as sick as he was. My kids couldn't play sports anymore. I couldn't afford to take them to, you know, the zoo anymore. I couldn't afford for them to play sports anymore. I only had one vehicle. I had a shitty job, and I just couldn't do anything anymore. And I didn't have any friends, and I didn't have any nothing. And me and their dad broke up the same year, a couple months before my dad died. So my whole system was, you know, messed up. And I didn't know what to do with these kids by myself. My dad also helped me get support from my extended family with my kids. And then when he passed away, they kind of left me alone, all of them. I was alone with these 3 little kids, and I was very depressed. Even my dad was my best friend, regardless of whatever we went through together. He was my best friend. He was always there for me, and it was hard not to have that person calling me every day, checking on me, leaving me voicemail after voicemail. And you know, it got sad. It really did, in both ways. Even though the father of my kids wasn't a very good mate, it still was an adjustment. You know, my kids, I put all the disciplinarian stuff on him because I was scared to discipline my kids, and I didn't want them to fear me the way my dad did me. I knew that was one of my goals as a parent, was my kids aren't going to fear me. But they feared him. You know, I put it on him to do it. He didn't have no problem doing it either. I mean, he wanted us all to fear him. It was the same old cycle, like I said before. It was, you know, different skin, same person. Anyways, I'm going to share this poem because we're getting into 30 minutes here. My love letter to anger, sorrow, and shame. Sorrow, the pain I felt over the years, my heartbreaks and grievances, all followed by tears. Tears of loss that I no longer regret. Tears of pain that is no longer a threat. Sorrow, I love you. We're safe now. Let's rest. Anger so violent, consumed by harsh words. Rage filled by fire, attacking in herds. Anger, my brother, to sorrow and tears. Anger, relax as we abandon our fears. Anger emerges for vengeance from pain. Lord, I'm so sorry for cursing your name. Anger, I see you, I feel you, it's safe. Anger, we no longer need to fight and be brave. Anger, no punching, uncoil your fists. Anger, I love you, we're no longer pissed. Anger, come rest now with sorrow and tears. Anger, my heart will hug you for many, many years. Shame, come forth, my pitiful parade, my failings and my lies all on display. My jealousy and my arrogance, what can I say? My selfish ego can no longer stay. My Shame, please come and show me your worst. Shame will ask, but do you know what I did? I do, and I love you, and you were merely a kid. Shame, come rest with sorrow and anger. The guilt is forgiven. There's no more danger. Sorrow is pain that anger will shield. Shame is ego with guilt to build. I am asking all three to come rest in my heart. My mind is free. Let's begin a fresh start. And I read that in a few AA meetings after I got out of jail. And so we talk about guilt and shame and anger a lot in AA, because I had a lot of it still. You know, my kids could use that against me all the time, and I would give them what they wanted. Anybody could. I walked with guilt and shame for a long time, and I don't do that anymore. I don't give them what they want anymore, and I say no, and I mean it, and I don't have to be drunk to say it. You know, my life has evolved. I've just taken some vacations over the last 2 years. The places I went, I thought I would never be able to go. Places where you should drink to. I went to Vegas with my son. I went to Mardi Gras with my daughter. We just went to Hawaii. We went to Miami. I mean, you know, alcohol is everywhere in these places, and I just have no desire for it anymore. I finally found the cure, and that was the contact with my guides and my angels. I don't want to be in that low vibration anymore, and I like where I'm at, and I like where I'm going. So this is my drunkalogue. It's called Alcohol, Where Did We Go Wrong? And it's basically, you know, tells how I became an alcoholic, what I liked about it, and then the demise that it started to cause in my life. We began a relationship so casual at sea. I remember taking some sips of my mom's spiked tea. Then at 13, I chugged my uncle's beer. I immediately threw up. This is nasty, oh dear. By age 15, I lost a whole bunch of weight. The boys all noticed. Woohoo, that's great. However, I never felt good in my own skin. And Jin whispered in my ear, gin makes you sin. My head yelled, you're too fat, and the gin came over and helped me with that. I was finally free from my own inner thoughts. I was flirting and dancing until I saw dots. I woke up the next day inside of a ship. My feet were unsteady. Come on, get a grip. I crawled to the toilet and hurled up my guts. That was the best night of my life. I must be nuts. I discovered the cheat code to confidence and fame. I knew right then that my life had changed. From that day forward, when I needed a boost, alcohol was there to give me the juice. Whenever I felt anger, sorrow, or shame, alcohol would encourage me to be brave. My dad was an alcoholic and my grandma was too. I couldn't abuse it, and they were my clue. Alcohol consoled me on days I fell short. However, at 23, I ended up in court. Out at the bar, drinking with friends. I just need a break. I hope this night never ends. I had 2 kids, a job, and a house. Why am I trapped here like a mouse? I got out of jail and paid all my fines. I was now in treatment for my very first time. I went to my groups and signed my own slips. Alcohol, we're done now. You took all my chips. I graduated treatment, sober and free. I rode that pink cloud till I could no longer see. My husband was hurting us day after day. I'm done with this shit. It's time to go play. 2010, I'm back in the slammer. I wish I was dead. Please give me a hammer. Where's that quiet girl with hopes and dreams? She's stuck in a cycle of chaos, it seems. 2012, I gave up all hope. My dad was dying and I had no way to cope. I picked up that bottle and lost control. Who's that behind me? The State Patrol. My dad bailed me out and took me to court his last year of life. I'm sorry to report. My life has crashed like an old cedar tree. My dad was dead and I wished it was me. I cried and cried until I had no more tears, and I cried some more because of my fears. How could we survive without my dad? He was there every day and all that we had. No family, no friends, no husband, no joke. My 3 kids still love me, but now we're broke. No power, no water. I can't even shower. It's time to go still. Our milk is sour. Alcohol took control of the wheel. My depression set in and nothing seemed real. I woke up one day and said, I'm better than this. God said, I know. And he gave me a kiss. 2018, I restarted our life. I visited Tacoma for just one night. I woke up in jail without any bail. The story never ends. I'm stuck in this hell. I moved away and I dropped all of my friends, and yet here I am once again. That's it. I'm finished. I'm through. I will slap the next person who offers a brew. I make this promise again and again, but this time I'll keep it. It's time to win. 2021, blue lights on behind me. I have a new life now. How did you find me? I went to a day, broke down and musty. A woman picked me up. She was beautiful and busty. I recited my story of shame and guilt. I ruined my life that was newly rebuilt. She said, it's okay, we'll show you the way. We're all alcoholics and most of us pray. We offer suggestions and hope you will stay. I need this, I want this, I'm desperate, you see. I'm feeble, I'm crying, I'm sobbing, I'm down on my knees. The doctors and judges and counselors agree. Even the priests could not convince me. I'm digging myself an early grave. Alcohol was fun, but now it's the plague. I have a little baby. She's only 1. I'm so thankful that I never got that gun. I need some help. Can we start today? It took a few years, but I'm finally on my way. And yeah, you know, my dad wrote a lot. He had a lot of writings, and I wish I still had a lot of them. And I'm not a poet. And I don't know if all this is me, or if it was my guides, or if it was a combination of everything, but I wrote several poems. I wrote one to my mom, my dad. I wrote one from my inner child to talk about her story before I wrote my poem to my mom and my dad, because I didn't want their poems to be negative. I wanted to find the highlights that they had for me, and that's when I figured out my dad just was dedicated to me, and my mom was my source of love, and my son was the guardian of our family, and my oldest daughter was my reflection, and my youngest daughter, well, Lily, my teenage daughter that's struggling with a lot of different things, she's my hero. If it wasn't for her, I don't know if I would be on this journey. She shook me up, challenged me, made me change. I had to change for both of us, or we were both going down. And my daughter Ayana was the light that we needed in our family to bring us all back together. The baby, we were in a lot of turmoil when we moved to Tulalip, and we couldn't even sit in the same room together because of all the struggles we went through before we moved out here. We were on the verge of homelessness. I mean, the car I was driving was overheating every other block. It was bad. You know, my life is way different now. We came out here with a bag of clothes and some donated furniture from a place in Tacoma that gives you used furniture, gently used furniture, because my old house had bed bugs from some people that we let come stay there at our house, while because I couldn't afford the bills, even though they weren't that much, but I needed help, so I let some people come live with us. Anyways, maybe I'll get out some oracle cards next time, but this has turned into a very long video, and I hope someone sits and listens to it, because it's just the beginning, and I plan on posting more, and I can talk about or discuss anything that anybody wants to talk about. Thank you so much for listening to me. I appreciate it.